Hey guys, welcome back to another weekly watch list where we go over all the given news, earnings, reports, levels we're looking at for the week, how we're looking to take them, as well as the market sentiment and expectations this week. So, starting off this week, we really don't have anything super significant as always, right? We only really focus on tech earnings a lot of the time. But the only one I would say is relevant that should be interesting, we might end up taking this if this approaches in a good way, is Netflix off earnings after close, of course, but this probably will have an effect Thursday. However, contracts will be probably hyperinflated on their premiums, as we know with earnings reports. So, likely only looking to touch this on Friday if this has a proper setup, obviously, with some pretty decent momentum. Obviously, the contracts are always the weakest link here on Netflix, where they have a widespread and low volume. So, if those variables check, though, we could be looking at a pretty decent setup on Netflix. I know on some earnings we've had, they are. So, going into this week with news. It's not going to be a crazy week, but we definitely have a lot of FOMC news. Okay, basically FOMC week here. So Monday, 12 p.m. FOMC member Barkin, 1 p.m. FOMC member Waller, and then after market close, not really relevant. 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, Empire State Manufacturing Index, import prices MM. 4:30 p.m. we have API weekly statistical bulletin. All right, Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. core retail sales retail sales 9:15. Kind of a significant time here because it is right during the middle of our trading time, right after open. Sorry, not right after open, right before open. Capacity utilization rate, industrial production At 10 a.m. we have business inventories NAHB housing market index. 10:30 a.m. crude oil inventories, and then 12 p.m. FMC member Hammock speaks. Thursday at 8:30 a.m. we have unemployment claims, Philly Fed manufacturing index, building permits, housing stats or starts. 10:30 a.m. natural gas shortage. 10:45 a.m. FMC member Barr speaks. Friday at 11 a.m. we have FMC member Daly speaks. So we do have a lot of news this week, something to be aware of. Just got to deal with that and move forward with a very smart approach this week. To be expecting maybe potentially a chop week as we've been kind of getting, and just playing hyper selective on those types of trades we take. Capital preservation mindset as we always talk about here. So levels wise, let's start off with Nasdaq NQ. We got 18,873.50, 18,941, 19,000, 19,100, 19,139.25, and then 19,201, and then all the way at the high here at 19,361. I think upside is definitely the bias this week. It's pretty obvious. You can just see we had a major sell-off, we had a bounce, now we had a little bit of a relief sell-off here. Now we're seeing our recovery up to the upside. So pretty simple structure here we get. As long as Trump doesn't do something crazy with tariffs, upside's definitely the option here for sure this week for what we got setups and sentiment-wise. So looking at QQQ here, we don't have a whole lot of crazy setups. Crazy levels here. But 466.43, 472.41, 470 is always going to be a whole number kind of key psych level. And then 476.94, 40, 53. Okay. Nothing crazy there. ES, looking over at ES here. We have on the upside 54, 18, 25, 54, 54, 25, 54, 87, 75, and then 55, 28, 75. It's going to be your levels right there. Going to setups this week, we have quite a few. Overall, that's going to be the case some weeks. Now, does it mean we're taking all of them? Absolutely not. We're probably going to take one of them, two of them. And that's our job and our responsibility as day traders, and what we do with scalping is to identify which setup really has that confirmation and that bias confirmation. I identify, okay, this is happening. This has got divergence, it's got spread tight, so forth, all the variables we always know. So looking at Apple here, 200 level, it's going to be the setup I like here. 200 on Apple. Target's going to be 261 cents as first target. Entry probably above 199.54 at the recent local double top. Really Friday's high. Again, 199.54 into 200 through 200 with scalp off, probably a half at the 200 break, and then take the remaining amount off at 261, and then the 201 break into 201.25, of course. So it'd be the 201 break. So that's going to be how I'd look to take Apple. AMD we have at 95. Not as good of a setup, no question in my book. Not as good of a setup. I like this more at the high 97, 91, 98 level, if you will, rather. But we are having an ascending pennant consolidation structure here. So 95 would be not the worst. Everything's kind of slowly upgrinding. And again, this is going to be, we have a lot of setups. So I'm hoping a lot of these just reject and go off the moon, off the rails completely right when we have open. And we only have some real good ones up here, So that's what I always like to see. And that's typically what happens. So not really stressing about it. So this probably reject. It doesn't look as strong as the others, but 95 here on AMD. Quick scalp, that's all it is for me. If I want to look to a hold, it would be Pretty long hold. It'd have to be to like a local high of the pre-market at 96.39 and then maybe 98. But again, that's not something I'm really looking to do with AMD. That company has a lot of rejections, so it's not something I like to mess around with. Google here, I do like Google. Much higher rating. Again, these are all main watches this week. Side watch wise, I really don't have anything side watch. They're all pretty decent setups. If you want to classify setup side watch, it'd be based off really the companies more than the setups. It'd be Apple, AMD, Microsoft. Google's pretty high in my opinion. So because we have Google here, you can see the structure. Really going into a cleaner range is really why I'm rating this higher. We're coming out of the chop. This one's ahead in my opinion. Just looking at this breaking out. I like it at 160, and I like it really rather I beat this opening near 159-ish area, more so a little higher, and then we have a momentum pop, and I take this near open, if not off open, straight through 160 into 161 as a scalp, obviously with Google, only scalps. Off open would be a half size, of course. Just manage your risk right here, right? Obviously, we know IV, the contracts haven't settled. You don't want to get caught in an IV crush, right? Those will kill you. So 160 here on Google into the 161 level, obviously local low. Matched local low closures. So very clean level there for sure, to say the least. Meta here. Meta's not a great range. Okay, that's all I'm going to say right now. Meta's one of our top 3 comps, obviously. It's a very high quality company. Setup-wise, though, not so much, right? 530 is the only thing I have. Upside, I might look to see something if it has the right divergent strength. I just can't really see anything. We're in chop. If you just look at this chart, it's a bad range. So I'm trying to see some confirmation on one side, but 530 definitely downside is the only one I currently have as my setup. 530 into the 528.59 local low at Friday's low as basically a scalp, quick hold. So that's going to be Meta. Only going to be in that for a few minutes likely. Microsoft 390, 395 here. It's got a nice long-term bear flag or bull flag here on the 1 hour. So not opposed to this setup. This is a pretty nice setup. 395, 393.23 would be a potential considered entry on this. It'd have to be a longer hold then, of course. We might get some chop before then, but just basically look to take this potentially there, if not above 394, and then look to take off half at 395, the rest at 396. It's a nice setup. It's just going to be really case dependent. A lot of these on how it approaches on that given day and how I'm going to be looking to take it is going to be based off of what market conditions are, divergence, all the variables, contract volume, premiums, so forth. Looking at the next setup here, we do have NVIDIA. I do like NVIDIA quite a lot here at the 115 level. This is pretty nice. It's a similar structure to Microsoft, a little different, but 115 at the 114.65 would be my considered entry as of right now. But depending on the approach to entry, we do get off of open in the morning and see how this all approaches. It's going to really discern what I decide, how I decide to take this. So 114.65 currently, but it might end up being elevated, or I might get in sooner. But likely more so the elevation, 114.80 cents, 114.75 probably, maybe 114.70. So we'll see, just depending on how it approaches. 115 break, sell half, and they'll probably be out of the rest at 115.30. NVIDIA does not like to have continuation, especially as of recent. So I've strictly scalped that company, and I've caught a lot of great green trades on it because I don't look to hold. I just look to get in, scalp it, and get out. Right? Be smart, risk assessive, especially Fridays. Right? Tesla's love-hate right now because there's really just a horrible range, as you can see. We haven't left this massive range here. Look at the volume on the volume density price action. It's just like, wow, there's really nothing here, right? But it is Tesla. That's always what we say because at the end of the day, even though we're in range, Tesla just always has that divergent strength and momentum kick in, and it always seems to have follow through. I mean, it really does. It has some pullbacks, it has reversals, rejections, but this company, when it does its thing, it does its thing. You can catch it even in these horrible ranges. It's the only stock that does this, so something to be aware of. 260, I'm not opposed to, and neither 240 is a better setup in my opinion than 260. I really like the downside here more, but again, bias is upside market-wise sentiment. So 260 is really going to be what I'm looking at into the morning. I really like 270 would be something I probably look at next. 265 is a little too soon. Really don't like this until 275 after 260. I just want to catch some strength here, and then hopefully you could have some rallying of pre-market, and then going into Tuesday morning, we are about the 275 level, say 274, 273, something like that would be nice. So we can finally see some breaking of this range and just get the hell out of this range through the 300 area. Would be fantastic. 280s, 290s, up through 300. So overall, guys, that's going to be the watch list this week. Again, quick reminder as always, let's be smart, risk assessive, size accordingly, FOMC, so we might have some chop. If we have those chop days, size down. There's no reason to be in heavy. All right, if you can catch a green trade on a half size, you do that consistently through the week, you're going to get paid regardless. So don't worry about it. All right. Manage your risk. It's all about the losses. Your losses control your profits. So let's do it this week smart. Manage your risk. Locked in. No distractions. Focus up. And stay disciplined. Big number one factor always above all. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you next week. Let's have a great week. Let's kill it. Peace.